Hello. This video recording is created to share with you how Flyswatter games are created and played in my classrooms. Why do we need to play Flyswatter games? Because it can be a lot of fun, especially when you don't play it all the time. And if you play it creatively. Plus, it gets students off their seats and help them discover different ways of learning things. And it lightens up the environment once in a while. So why don't we play? So who can create the Flyswatter game content? You, the teacher. You can create it ahead of time on the whiteboard, blackboard, or on big butcher paper that many school districts use. You can do it ahead of time so that students, as soon as they walk in, it's ready to go. Or you can use it towards the last few minutes before the bell, before the end of the class, I meant. Students can also help create it. They can create it on small whiteboard. They can also help create it on large whiteboard. So the teacher can assign them to write certain things. Just keep in mind that there should not be any repetitions on the same whiteboard or blackboard. Otherwise, there will be many confusions. You don't know who hits item A or item B that happens to be the same thing. So it's hard to determine who will be the winner if that's the case. And students can also help create the Flyswatter content. You can do it on a small whiteboard. In this case, it is a small whiteboard. You can also do it on paper. Now, how do I play the Flyswatter games in my classroom? First, I can call the item one by one in Chinese, and students will hit based on what they hear and based on what they understand. Whoever hits certain things, whoever hits the item faster will be the winner for that time. And then you can certainly have students play each pair play, hit once or twice, or hit 5 times, or hit 10 times, or 8 times. You decide, and then it goes to another pair. You can also call the item in Chinese not item by item, but you can combine the items into sentences and then ask the students to hit the items in the order of the sentence order. So, for example, if you say, I love China in whatever language you teach, then the students should hit I, the equivalent of I, and then love, and then China in that order. Another way I do is to call out in English. You can do that item by item to start out with to get them started, and then you can move on to giving them an entire English sentence and have them translate. So that depends on what content you have, and then you can expect them to combine certain things, see what your intention is. Depending on the students' skill levels and the content to be reviewed, you can also have students volunteers to call out the items. It could be calling out the sentences. You can have heritage students to do it. You can also have a little more advanced students to do it. You can ask students volunteers to do it. You can also have students who are sort of like a fidgety, who cannot focus, who needs a little help, who are not willing to participate, to call out the items. Sometimes you might want to stand by to help them because not all students can sound out things correctly, or not all of them can speak in a very loud voice, no matter how much you encourage them. One other way that I do, so if I have a large group, like 25, 30 students, I would divide the students into smaller groups, like groups of 4 to 6 people. And then you designate a group leader, have that person in charge of the small group, and then give them content to write. The content can be in handouts form, depending on how you let the students, how you distribute the vocabulary. So each group can create exactly, uh, each group can create Flyswatter sheet based on exactly the same content. But if you have a huge list of vocab, then you can divide them into segments and have different groups work on different part of the list, and then that will speed up the process of creating Flyswatter sheets. And then every once in a while you can take them out and do Flyswatter again. There is one variation that I would like to focus today. It's called the circling sheet. I cannot claim credit for this one. I learned it from a Spanish teacher. So thank you, the Spanish teacher. That was many years ago. So the advantage of playing this game is that all students basically can participate in the game at the same time. So there is no waiting time. Students work in smaller groups, like two, normally 2 person, sometimes max three people working on the same sheet. They circle the item they hear, or they circle the items they hear. The key is the teacher should, the caller at least, should make it a little bit unpredictable, so that students will always have to stay alert, and try to make it fun and silly, even if it means sometimes you have to create sentences like the cat says, I want to go to China, or the dog loves to eat Chipotle. So these are the examples of how students like the circling sheet look like. In this case, the circling sheet were created on small whiteboard. And this one, also created by students, were done on paper. So let's hear what's going on.
森林 soda pop 包子
So even though each of them created a sheet, I let them work on one sheet at a time, and then on another sheet, then maybe I'll play this game differently, or I save it for another time.
可爬
The caller this time is a Chinese 3 student. Don't know if you have noticed that each student, when they work in pairs, they're holding different color pen or pencil or marker. So that was a Chinese 2 and 3 class. This also.
Mother bird is extremely hungry. Mother bird is extremely hungry.
So they moved their seats, so they're actually scattered all over the classroom. They're not sitting in regular classrooms anymore. I asked them to find a comfortable place so that they will be able to focus on listening.
Is afraid of missionaries.
Yeah, the timer is it's a little bird. The little bird is afraid of missionaries. Yeah. So by the time when they finish playing, this is what their sheets might look like. Here is another one. Finally, there's a comparison of what the sheet looked like before, what the sheet looks like before on the left, and what it looks like after the game on the right. So I hope you enjoyed this little episode, and I hope you will benefit some from it as well. Have fun creating and happy teaching.